Web streams, web streams. This is one of the contents that is rare to find out about on the internet. I think just a few people are using web streams because they haven't found use cases to do it, but I would list a lot of them. I love watching movies and series on streaming platforms such as HBO, Star Plus, Netflix, and others. The title list of those applications is a good way to use web streams. They usually have an infinite scroll, which normally triggers HTTP requests through REST APIs. Those requests may receive 10 or 20 titles per time, and they try rendering all the data on the screen at once, which leads to a slowdown or the search bar being blocked until the rendering process is finished. Using web streams, they can gradually download data, render the screen, and ask for more data if needed. You can pause or even cancel a request, freeing up memory, and the screen will never be blocked because of the request. In this class, I'll introduce you to the web streams readable, writable, and transform streams. The idea behind it is exactly the same as you've seen so far in this course using Node.js streams. I'll show you how you can convert Node.js streams to web streams, and this is a good exercise for you to come back on the projects in this course and replace all Node.js streams by web streams to check what's the difference in practice. Well, it's time to check this out on practice. Let's get started. Well, just to make sure you're using the same version as me, I'm using the 19.4, and let's start out. So I'm gonna create the fourth module here, okay, and then I will create the first one, which is gonna be web streams 101. I would like to call it like an introduction and everything. So I'm gonna create just a file here, and we can compare with the Node.js streams we've been using a lot, right? So I'm gonna enter there, and I can use the watch feature in the Node.js 19, so it's gonna be great for us. So this class is gonna introduce you to the API, and then we're gonna create a full project, okay? To use the readable streams or writable streams, we can start importing from the Node stream web, okay? I'm gonna use the readable string. The readable string, they are actually part of the global objects here, okay? But I don't like using global objects at all. So we can use from here, we can use the writable string 2. And notice that we have a suffix here for string, right? Okay, we can create a readable string by using the readable string class. All right, when we are creating a readable string, we can use a few functions here, right? We can use cancel, and all of them are part of the life cycle of the string. So we can customize, but I would say it's really rare to use all those functions, okay? So I'm gonna start using only the start, okay? And the start could be a async function. Something we see here, the start will receive a controller, which is the readable string controller, okay? So we're gonna use this object to produce data. So we can actually try using exactly the same thing we've been doing in the other classes. So I'm gonna use node timers, promises, set timeout, set interval, okay? For await, const e of interval every 200 seconds, we're gonna produce something. So we can use controller dot enqueue, okay? We can use close to simulate like the push null we've been doing in the previous classes, or we can just use enqueue here. Or if you wanna throw an error, you can use the error function. All right, let's start simple. Hello, and just a new date. All right, that's it, right? So we have a readable string, and now we have to pipe it to another string, right? So the readable is always our source, and then we have to pipe it to a transform or a writable string. So to pipe, On Node.js, we have pipe, and here we have pipe through and pipe to. The pipe to is usually the last thing we do on our pipeline, okay? So it's usually a writable string in the end. We're gonna do this in a few minutes. So let's start using the pipe through, okay? And we can create a writable string here. So new writable string. We have other functions we can use. So when we start up, we close, it's gonna be very useful on the project, those functions. But just to start out, let's create the write. So we're gonna receive the chunk. And if you wanna do something with the controller to throw some error or something, we can catch the controller as we've done on the readable, but it's not needed, okay? So in this case, I'm gonna say just that this is our chunk. So if we save it, we can see some arrows here, which is the transform readable must be a readable. This happens because usually the writable streams is the pipe to. So let's see. So yeah, as I said, it's always the last step. So now we can see something similar that we've been using on Node.js streams. Perfect, but I want to go further, right? So what if we create some transform string as well? So we can import it or use from the global object. You can see that it will work from the global object, but I would like to use from here. Well, we're gonna use the pipe through, same idea. So we have a lot of objects that we can use here. Well, we can use the start to just to set up a few things here, the transform to actually process it, and the flush, it's similar to the final we've been using on our classes, okay? We actually use it, I think it was on our, which one? I think it was on the CSV to JSON. Here we had the final, right? So the flush is exactly the same idea. All right. So I'm gonna use just transform. Same idea, chunk and controller. See, this is very similar to the Node.js. We see that it doesn't change much, and this is very cool. So I'm gonna try changing a bit of this code, and I'm gonna use chunk dot to uppercase, and then controller and q data. So our chunk here is gonna print out some different results. Let's check this out. So now we can see all the data coming out, and we can check out. Okay, nice. Well, one last thing. What if we want to use the native Node.js strings and convert it to web streams? Let's just test out if the global object works out. So I just commented everything, and you can see it's still working. So it's not necessary at all. But I want to keep it because I want to know where is this variable coming from. I've never used like global ones because it's hard to find out who is creating this thing. Okay, so now we have our readable string here, but let's say I want to use like a custom async operation here. So my custom readable. Okay, I'm gonna use the yield and the buffer from to make things more interesting. I'm gonna get here the timeout. I'm gonna use a wait and maybe 200 seconds and print out more one message. My custom readable. Okay, well, now see how amazing is it. We can actually get from the node side, node string, and we can use here the readable. Okay, and the readable here, I will actually comment this line and create a new line, readable. It's gonna be our readable, and we have from web, which is a web from the web string, right? So if we want to parse this readable stream to Node.js, we can use from web, or we can do the reverse to web as well. from readable, writable, transform, and duplex streams. They all have the same methods, so you can convert them. So I'm gonna use to web, and I'm gonna use the readable.from and use my custom readable here. Let's see what changes. I just saved and we see that it crashed, right? So this is something very similar to what happens on the front end side. So the chunk is not a string in this case because it's a buffer, right? It's a binary object. So if you try printing out the chunk here before everything works, you can see it's a buffer. So usually when you go and try finding on the docs, you're gonna see this class, which is the text decoder and text encoder string. So the decoder will help us. Let's just break a few lines here just to make it easier. So it's gonna help us to actually convert a buffer object, a binary object, to strings. All right, so now see how hard it is. I'm gonna go here, pipe through, and I'm gonna instantiate this function, and I'm gonna save right away, and now you can see everything is work fine, right? So I'm gonna use the decoder just to convert all buffers into strings, and now so it should be working if we uncomment our function here. Yeah, because it's already a string, right? So this might not work. Yeah, I can do buffer from if I want here, but I will just comment this one and keep the readable stream as well. Okay, so if you try converting all the projects we have to web streams, you can do by using readable to web or so on. Okay, the same idea. And one last thing, when we finish reading data, we can say here console.log finish reading or writing, writing. So I'm gonna save it, and then we can get the event right here. So if you wanna flush out or dispose data, you can do it right away. All right, well, I think with it you can do a lot already, right? You can convert everything we have already to streams, but in the next class we're gonna see even more stuff. Amazing, isn't it? So this code might work on web as well, and that's what we're gonna see in the next class. I'll dive into it and show more use cases in the next class, which will be our final project in this module. I'm Eric Wendell, and I'll see you in the next video.